Welcome back, Nerd Squad, to another nerdy list. Comic books often seem to follow a pretty tried and true formula when it comes to the main cast and storyline. There is a good guy, there's a bad guy, there's a problem, the problem tends to snowball, the world is at stake, turns out the baddie is behind it, and the goodie has to save the day. But some comics like to take this formula and deconstruct it, just to keep us on our toes, moving parts of the equation around so that instead the baddie ends up as our solution. Some problems are just too large for our heroes alone, and sometimes the hero just simply can't get it done because they are not strong enough or held back by their own beliefs or morals. Some baddies even just want to prove that they can do it better, or know that as a villain they need to sacrifice themselves so someone can be around to look after the world. Sometimes you gotta sacrifice yourself for those heroes. This is when a villain will often step in and play the role of the hero, often just for a day or just for one story. Today we're going to look at some of the more startling instances where this happened as we count down the top 10 supervillains you won't believe save the world. Be sure to stick around till the end of this video where I have some amazing comments coming at you. And also enjoy the fact that I am dressed up as a hedgehog today in honor of Halloween. Yes. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Poison Ivy. So while Poison Ivy usually stays pretty confined to her roots in terms of where she calls home, haha, get it? On a smaller scale, she has worked to save what she would consider her world within Gotham. Poison Ivy would do anything to save the environment, as we all know, even at the expense of destroying humanity. Many would think that to her a perfect world would in fact be one without any humans to harm her beloved plant children. Although in most cases, most people would be right in regards to this assumption, Ivy does have a few exceptions when it comes to loving humans. She has a sort of odd love of Batman and a full-on girl crush for her girl Harley Quinn. She has even passed on world domination for Quinn. But she also saved a good amount of people in Gotham during the events of No Man's Land, when she set up shop in Robinson Park and actually cared for any people who found their way there, referring to them as her orphans and acting as their protector. She also helped Batman to secure produce for the people of Gotham. And when it comes to real-world means of saving the planet, Ivy also does her part, speaking at climate change conferences in an attempt to inspire change through others. Number 9. Norman Osborn. Green Goblin and Norman Osborn has done an insane amount of imaginatively awful things to Spider-Man and others who got in his way. He wasn't the only one dealing with the events of Secret Invasion, but Osborn did manage to save the world during that event when he dealt the kill shot to Veronica, the Skrull Queen. As such, he is awarded with the trust of the President of the United States, who disbands S.H.I.E.L.D. and allows Osborn to build a new agency in its stead. Osborn then creates Hammer, which doesn't actually stand for anything in terms of the acronym. He creates his own team of superheroes built out of former supervillains, which he calls the Dark Avengers. Or which we call the Dark Avengers? I don't know. He probably just calls them the Avengers. While Osborn is a flawed hero at best, his team do manage to track down and take out the Molecule Man when they discover he is responsible for a series of missing persons. Number 8. Lex Luthor. Lex has often stepped up to the plate to begrudgingly help Superman when the world is truly at risk. Why? Because ultimately Lex's primary beef is with Superman, not the entire world. In truth, he is only a villain in terms of the entire Earth, because going up against Superman usually means putting the planet at risk. But when another greater threat reveals itself, Luthor will often put the greater good before his personal vendetta. There is a story where Luthor was actually the only hero on Earth as well. Yep, though this wasn't Alexander Luthor, not specifically Lex Luthor. Alexander was actually the Earth 3 version of Lex himself. Earth 3 is an Earth where the only supers are villains, but when two good versions of Superman follow two evil villains of Lex Luthor there, and are forced to go up against Kryptonian Ultraman, Alexander steps in to save the day, making him the only hero on Earth 3, where the crime syndicate is obviously from. That is before Earth 3 was destroyed in Crisis on Infinite Earths and then rebooted and altered. So now Alexander's, well, he's not as cool. He's not really a hero anymore. Kind of crazy. Number 7. Loki. During the Axis storyline, Wanda inverted all superhero and supervillain moralities, making those who are good bad and those who are bad good. Instead of embracing and simply enjoying this change as Loki finally gets to be seen as a hero for a while, Loki actually fights tirelessly to reverse the state of the world and help out the heroes who are currently trapped inside villainous mentalities. During his time acting as a hero, Loki was known as the god of heroism and truth, and was even worthy enough to lift Thor's hammer. Loki at his best. Number 6. Magneto. While Magneto may have a more forceful strategy when it comes to fighting for mutant rights, he is ultimately trying to do something noble. Sort of. The main difference between Eric and Charles is that Charles' vision is to create harmony between humans and mutants, where Eric simply wants humans out of the way, as he believes they do not necessarily deserve to live among mutants. Magneto is even sometimes stated as being the better leader between the two, and lately Magneto's beliefs seem to have even affected Charles for the better, as the two work together in the House of X to build a new life for the mutants on Krakoa. Despite being painted as a villain, this isn't the first time Magneto has joined with the X-Men. In fact, he has joined with them so many times that I have just lost count, flip-flopping back and forth between noble acts and dastardly ones. In Age of Apocalypse, he even worked with the X-Men to save the world from Apocalypse, even managing to tear Apocalypse apart piece by piece until all that was left was his head. Number 5. Harley Quinn. If you have not read any of the 2016 Batman series by Tom King and David Finch, well, you need to change that. There's one particular story arc that sees Batman and Catwoman coming up alone against Poison Ivy after she's taken over the entire world. The two try to convince her to release her hold on everyone and attempt to defeat her, but ultimately realize that she's just too powerful and they are no match for her. Fortunately, they know just who is. They come up with a plan to free Harley Quinn from Ivy's grasp just long enough to convince Ivy to chat with Harley. What they ultimately know is that Harley holds such a sway over Pamela that the two are so close that she'll be able to talk Pamela down. Poison Ivy is in pain, which is why she's trying to save the world by enslaving everyone. She feels the need to fix it. Harley defeats her by telling her it's okay to be hurt, and that they can be hurt together. She knows that Ivy can save the world, but she asks, just for today, that they instead focus on saving Pam. So cute. Just saving the world with her words. Snap. Number 4. Doctor Doom. This villain has saved many people every now and then. Victor Von Doom is a genius and a leader. He rules over Latveria, which is an ultra-controlled but very peaceful nation. And many remember when he was God Emperor Doom after the events of an incursion where he became a god in order to save the multiverse by creating his own battle world. Although many of us are familiar with that story, I would argue one of his best storylines thus far in regards to saving the world from global threats is in the infamous Iron Man storyline, where we see Victor take up the mantle of Iron Man. As Iron Man, he defeats an entire room full of supervillains who have created an alliance to actually take him down. And later, he also manages to defeat Mephisto. The best part is the group of villains actually think that joining together will protect them from Doom. And just as they are discussing this, they're promptly defeated by him. Number 3. The Joker. That's right, in a storyline where superheroes came up against their greatest challenge, Joker stood with them to help them save the world. The challenge? Nuclear war. A real world threat too. Granted, in the event of an actual nuclear war, we'd most likely see all life on Earth obliterated. But in the Superman comic Distant Fires, Superman ventured outside of the ruins of Metropolis to find a post-apocalyptic community built by surviving superheroes and some supervillains, including the Joker himself. You see, the blast had caused the supers to lose their powers, but for Joker it allowed him to regain his sanity. In this scenario, we saw him as a sane do-gooder and a leader, working hard to help the survivors of the blast. Although it didn't really work forever, Joker still was successful in helping humanity to survive for as long as they could, even building a generator to grant the community electricity. Nuclear devastation is a pretty hard one to beat. Let's try to not have a nuclear war. Seems like a bad idea. Number 2. Thanos. While the MCU would have us believe that Thanos is one of the worst of the worst, the comics, they would also pretty much have us believe that, so. But there are times that even the Mad Titan has felt that a supervillain was going too far. Thanos wanted the Infinity Stones in the comics to destroy half of the universe's population to earn the affections of Mistress Death, which granted sure is pretty awful. Killing that many people just to impress a sweetheart seems pretty extreme. But Magus, the evil version of Adam Warlock, was even worse. He wanted the stones so he could destroy all life. Pretty bad. This threat actually saw Thanos join the heroes and play a key role in defeating Magus. Even the most evil of characters can be one of the good guys sometimes, it seems. We even see a version of Thanos that ends up leading the Avengers in issue 10 of the 2016 Thanos comic series. Shocking. Even more shocking, he seems like pretty okay with that alternate version of himself. Number 1. Darkseid. In the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths, Darkseid ends up joining with the heroes who take on the Anti-Monitor for good, after he seeks to destroy the last known Earth. Darkseid was one of the crucial few in the fight, able to weaken Anti-Monitor long enough for Superman to get that final blow. And Alexander Luthor, who I was actually talking about earlier, was also one of the other important supers to help in this fight. Very strange that both Darkseid and Thanos, who are known for being a couple of the biggest bads around, have both come together with supers for the greater good of the entire Earth's existence. Or the entire universe's existence, I should say. I guess that is ultimately what you need if you want to turn some of the most evil villains momentarily good. Just a really big threat. The biggest threat. Thank you for watching, Nerd Squad. I hope you were somewhat amazed by some of these supervillains' globally heroic actions. And as promised, I have some bonus content for you in the form of comments from one of my latest videos, top 10 Joker bloopers and funny behind the scenes. Tristan Eversley says, I actually live near the stairs. What? You live near the Joker stairs? That's amazing. I heard they're trying to get people to stop taking pictures on them because there have just been so many people flocking there. I hope it's not bothering you too much. James T says, all hail Queen Amanda, the queen of beanies. I love that. I wish I actually owned enough beanies to truly support this claim, or toques as we call them here in Canada. I think I need about like 6 more before I can actually claim that title, Queen of Beanies. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Remember to comment on this video and let us know what your favorite supervillain turned momentary superhero is for a chance to be featured in a future video. And while you're on your way down there, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring our bell. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host Amanda McKnight / a hedgehog today, reminding you as always to stay nerdy, YouTube.